Our next running back is Travis Etienne here, Lawrence. He had 5 touches in his first game back last week. I would say, listen, maybe they're easing him in, but we saw his workload decreasing even before he got hurt.
Yeah, and that's the key thing here, Connor. Another key thing, right, is that Dearness Johnson is still playing. He played 24% of the snaps. Now, that's third of the Jaguars running backs, but he's still there. He's still coming in the game. So you could say they're easing him in, but now they started off playing 2 running backs. Now they playing 3. Then you look at the fact that, well, they're about to go here up against this Vikings defense. Well, you just saw what they did against Jonathan Taylor, 13 carries for 48 yards, so he couldn't run the ball against them. So you're going to tell me now, hey, let's start a running back who hasn't been as good as he's been in prior years against this defense. I'm going to say no for this week. Just too many guys they're working with there in that backfield. I got to close it out this week.
What about you, Matthew?
I'm closing it out as well. I mean, we've talked about Etienne and just like not only the lack of the workload here, right? It's just like, you know, this offense feels broken as well. Tank Bigsby, his emergence. He's played 5 games in which him and Tank Bigsby have both been healthy, right? Under 9 fantasy points per game in those for Travis Etienne. Last week, 31% of the snaps. And now he gets the Vikings, who give it the 7th fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs this season. Like, it's a tough matchup against the Vikings. You don't feel great about this offense. You feel like if there's a rushing touchdown that happens, you feel like that's probably more likely to be Tank Bigsby. And just feels like Travis Etienne doesn't get the consistent passing game work that you would want from somebody. Like, it's almost, he's basically become like a third down back. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's weird. Like, this guy that was like such a workhorse last year is now on the wrong side of a timeshare, it feels like.
And he just hasn't looked good
No.
when he came out of the gate early in the season with the workload you expected. So they just feel like they've moved on.
Internally. It's unfortunately it's a mess in Jacksonville, as producer Steven is well aware. Well aware. Just pointing that out, Steven. Well aware.
Definitely a Steven-produced show because we're going to keep the Jags talk going.
We're still talking more Jags?
We got more Jags. Brian Thomas Jr. makes keep it open or close it out. A season-low 22 receiving yards last week, Lawrence. He's been dealing with the chest injury, but Minnesota's been somewhat vulnerable against the pass, especially with how much they blitz.
Bingo. They're good in the front 7, a little weaker on the back end. Look, I respect the veterans, Harrison Smith, Stephon Gilmore.
They're old.
But, yeah, you got that right.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
Who looked at you? I might have side-eyed you a little bit. I don't know. But look, though, Minnesota. They allow the top 5 fewest points to running backs, right? Yeah. But they're bottom 3 when allowing points to receivers. So, I mean, that right there should be a no-brainer to you. Look, Brian Thomas, yes, season low 22 receiving yards, but outside of that game in the Week 9 London game, he's averaging 78 receiving yards per game. He is their guy, and eventually, you know, whether they're winning or losing, most of the time they losing, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to make a big play. I'm keeping this open.
I'm as well. Even last week with the lack of production, he still played over 90% of the snaps. Brian Thomas, to me, has earned every week. I don't care who he's playing. I'm not looking at the matchup. He is a no-brainer. I am starting him every week. Status in one bad game doesn't change that. You mentioned the Vikings and their defense. They are, Lawrence, just like you said, they give it the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers as well. Negative game script. They're going to be throwing in this one. I'm keeping it open with Brian Thomas. He's my wide receiver 22 this week. It doesn't matter to me. Like, he's that good. He would have to fail in a number of games in a row for me to be like, maybe it's time.
Yeah,
for me
like 3.
Yeah, exactly. You're starting him this week. Don't get cute. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.